This is Into Math 3rd grade lesson 6.4, Relate Subtraction and Division. I can show how subtraction and division are related. I can use repeated subtraction or a number line to solve a division problem. Please gather your workbook and a pencil and pause if needed, and then turn to page 152. We will start under Build Understanding Part 1. Nala uses cloth to make coats for dogs. She has a bolt of cloth that is 18 feet long. Each piece of cloth that she cuts is 2 feet long. And then the main question that we're looking for asks, how many pieces of cloth does Nala cut? All right, so we have 18 feet of cloth, and she's going to cut 2 feet long pieces, and we need to find out how many pieces of cloth she will cut. Part A, after Nala cuts one piece from the bolt, how much cloth is left on the bolt? Predict how many pieces of cloth Nala can cut. Well, we start with 18, because they tell us that it's 18 feet long. And then she's going to make one cut, which would be 2 feet. So we could subtract 2 from 18. And when we do that, we get the number 16. There's 16 feet of cloth left on the bolt. And then it asks us to predict, which means make a guess. Predict how many pieces of cloth Nala can cut. And so you can make your best guess and put that in there. You can also notice that you'll notice we're taking away 2. So maybe you want to count by 2s to see how many 2s it takes to get to 18. That's one way that you can help make a prediction. So I'm going to write in that I think Nala will cut 9 pieces of cloth. And that's really because I'm counting by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And I do that, it's 9 times. All right, let's move on to part B. How can you use a number line to show how many pieces of cloth Nala cuts? You'll notice that they do provide a number line below in the green rectangle. And I want you to think about when you use a number line, normally we start at 0, and let's say we're going to jump by 2. So we would do something that looks like this, where we're jumping equal groups of 2 to the next number, and we're going forward. And that's because usually we're looking to find a number. But in this case, they have already provided the number, which was 18 feet. So we already know where we're starting. So I want you to think, how can I use this number line to show the 2 feet that she cuts to make the dog coat? So if you want to pause and think about that for a second, and when you come back, I think you'll be able to answer part B here. And so here's what I'm thinking with the number line, is that I'm going to start at this 18, and I'm actually going to jump back 2. So 1, 2, that would put me at 16. And I'm jumping back 2 for each feet of cloth that is cut, and each jump represents 1 piece. So if you want to pause this video and go ahead and continue on with the number line jumping backwards too, you can do that now, or you can follow along with me. I'm going to go ahead and do the next one. 1, 2 to 14, 1, 2 to 12, 1, 2 to 10. I'm going backwards to 8, to 6, 4, 2, and then I have one more jump to end at 0. So I landed on the numbers 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and finally 0. And how many jumps did I make? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So how do you know how many jumps to make? I can explain my thinking by saying I count back by twos until I end at 0, which is what we did. And then that's how I'm going to find the answer. How many pieces of cloth does Nala cut? I found that she had 9 pieces. Let's take a look at the next page, page 153, part 2. How can you use subtraction to find how many pieces of cloth Nala cuts for the dog's coats? Subtract equal lengths to represent each jump on the number line. So we had started with 18 because that was the amount of feet that she had. And then she cut 2 feet, and when she did that, she had 16 feet left to cut from. So we took that 16 and we made another cut of 2, which brought us to 14 feet. And that's how many feet we had left, but we still wanted to keep going until we got to 0. So we took 14 and we subtracted 2 feet. And when we did that, we landed at 12, and that makes our answer. So we're going to continue on. If you want to pause and continue this yourself and come back, you're welcome to do that, or just keep following along with me. So we had 12, we subtracted 2, and that gave us 10, which is where we landed on the number line. Then we had 10, we subtracted 2, and we landed at 8. And then we had 8 feet, we subtracted 2 feet for another coat, and we had 6. And then we had 6 feet, we subtracted 2, and we had 4 feet left. Then we had 4 feet, we subtracted 2, and we had 2 feet left. And finally, we had 2 feet, and we subtracted 2 feet, and we ended at 0. So there wasn't anything left for us to cut. So part B asks, well, how many times did you subtract? And we found that with those jumps, we had subtracted 9 times, but we could count our subtraction facts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that means that we subtracted 9 times. Let's take a look at part C. Use a division equation to model the problem. And then they have provided the number 18 with the word dividend underneath and a division sign, along with the number 2 as the divisor, an equal sign, and then a blank space right here with the word quotient. So we need to take a look at the vocabulary to make sure we understand these math words. So the first part is the dividend. The dividend is the number that is to be divided in a division problem. So in this case, the 18 is the dividend because that was the amount of cloth available for Nala to use. So this is the number that we're going to be dividing with. Okay, let's take a look at the next word. The next word says divisor, and here it says the divisor is the number that divides the dividend. So the reason we have 2 here is because we knew that Nala was cutting 2 feet sections. So we have the total amount 18, which is the dividend, and then we're cutting or dividing by 2 feet. So this is why we put the 2 here. Finally, we have the quotient. And the quotient is the number that results from dividing, or otherwise our answer. And we already gave our answer here, so we can write that 18 divided by 2 would be 9. The next part asks us to model the division problem in a different way. Here we have the dividend 18. We have the division sign, which is this symbol right here. And then we have the divisor, which is our 2 right here. And the quotient, or the answer, is what goes on top of that division symbol. So the quotient goes on top of the division symbol. So we have reviewed 3 vocabulary words that are connected with the division equation. If you would like to go back and rewatch this video and pause along the way, you can do that at any time.